Yeah, new company.
Job maybe. Yeah, new company. New focus in your career.
Yeah, exactly. Just new me, who this?
Yeah. So guys,
new normal, who this?
New normal, who this? What up? I'm Bianca.
And I'm Adrianne.
And we're two independent women living in New York City going through a lot of stuff.
And that's why we're here to share our experiences and hopefully you can learn something from it.
Or you can just laugh with us.
In this episode of Women in the Wild,
what are we talking about?
We are talking about quarantine again. Yay! But this time we're reflecting on what we went through, or like the difference in what we did in the beginning of the pandemic back in March, or like the end of March, start of April, to now it's the middle of June. And we've learned and adapted a lot of things since then, and
definitely
that's what we're going to talk about today.
Not necessarily fun things. I feel like I'm more of a boring person after quarantine. Because we basically just have stayed home all these months and like adapted to being homebodies.
That's true.
Forcefully.
I mean, you did also move. I moved. So there's a lot of just like nesting aspects of it too.
Mm-hmm.
And then we were also talking about how during the beginning of this, like, remember how paranoid we were? When I would go to your house, I would wear gloves, a mask, and fully shower.
Yeah.
I had a full set of clothes to change into, and then we can start to actually do things.
And we didn't even hang out like that close, remember? We kept a distance.
Yeah, there was a time that I actually just dropped by and I stayed by your doorway because that was all we could do.
Yeah. And look at us now, crashing in my place.
Exactly.
Who cares?
Yeah, and then even when you came to my place, you didn't even go inside my apartment. We hung out at the courtyard.
Yeah, a lot of rules to follow.
Yeah, I mean, we also both have roommates, so that's another thing to consider in New York City, that it's like, you can't just think of yourself if you have roommates. I mean, both of us do, so we really had to be considerate about that.
In my last apartment, I didn't.
Technically, yeah, towards the last 2 months.
We were just being careful. Yeah.
So yeah, now that we're 3 months in, what have we learned?
I think as a society, we are more hygienic and like cleaner and more careful to not spread germs. You know, like you always hear since you're little that you should be carrying your little hand sanitizer and like not touch things while you're like in public transportation and stuff like that. And I feel like people just didn't care about that. I didn't care about that. Like I would be like touching all the seats and everything at the subway station, and now like I don't even want to. And I feel like that's not me, it's everyone. I feel like New York was very laid back when it comes to being careful or like just keeping your hands clean. People just didn't care because nothing would come out of it. Like it wouldn't matter that much. But now that we went through a pandemic where you couldn't or else you get infected, everyone's like a little more conscious about that. A lot more conscious about that. And I feel like it's going to stay that way moving forward.
Same thing with masks. It's funny how here in America, wearing masks is something that is frowned upon before. Like, oh, if you wear a mask, you're contagious, get away from me. But actually in Asian countries especially, masks are acceptable. Like we would even have them at home, even not during a pandemic. We would just have it to be considerate, you know, that if you're not feeling well, or if you feel like sneezing, or you're about to go into a public place, it's actually more for consideration rather than, oh, I'm contagious, get away from me.
That's so interesting, because I remember seeing Asian people wear masks like normally before the pandemic. And I have to say, like, which is bad of me, but I used to be those people that would judge, like, what are you protecting yourself? Like, why are they so extra? Like, what are you protecting yourself from? Like, no one else is wearing a mask. Like, why do you have to wear one? Or like it looks lame in my eyes. So, like, if I wore a mask, like, that's so lame. So
it's not part of the aesthetic.
Yeah. So now I have a super different mentality. It's like I see the purpose in it now, for sure.
I feel like I'm also more considerate about other people. Like, I would ask, oh, is it okay if I go inside your apartment? Or even petting other people's dogs. If the dog will come up to me at a park, I'll be like, is it okay? Because you don't know also if that dog is safe or where they've been and what apartments they came from. Yeah, so masks. People actually wash their hands 20 seconds. Who was washing their hands for 5 seconds before all of this? I don't understand.
I would be like, okay.
It's so gross. And also with New York, since you mentioned the subway, it's so crazy that now the subway shuts off from 1 a.m. to 5 a.m.
But that's not gonna stay that way, is it?
I think that's the plan, that it will be staying that way, at least for the meantime. So New York is actually the only subway public transportation system that runs 24 hours.
And that's why it's freaking amazing. I really hope they
no more nights in Hood at like 3 in the morning. Good luck to anyone.
I don't think that's gonna be forever.
Maybe.
That's the point of New York. No, I do not accept this.
I think what will end up happening is that they'll increase bus lines so that you have a more direct route in the evenings and stuff like that.
The pandemic had nothing to do with being out late at night.
I think it also solves more problem than like germs. Like, I mean, it's good that it will be shut down to be cleaned daily.
Oh, it's to be clean?
To be clean.
Okay.
And also, like, what I've read is that it will also help like homelessness, because sometimes people that are homeless tend to hang out underground. And this will actually force people to move up and out and actually into proper places and not encourage homelessness.
I guess that makes sense.
And just for cleaning, because every other public transportation system in the entire world shuts down to clean and maintain. And that's why we have Pizza Rat in New York.
But I want to go out late at night.
There's Uber now for that.
Heck no. You know how expensive that is here? Nah.
Well, it might be more expensive to have coronavirus.
At least I can say that during my youth, I did have my nights out, my like crazy late nights out. I guess moving forward, I'll be more of an adult.
Maybe even then we won't.
I guess I'll be home at midnight. When does it close?
1 a.m.
Yes, I can be home at 1 a.m. from now on. Watch me 4 months from now.
Bianca, where are you? It's 3 in the morning. Oh my goodness. So yeah, I mean, that's what's changed. I think also even our habits, like taking care of ourselves more and our home. I think what people stop to focus on is that we spend so much time outside of our apartments that like we don't even really take care of what we need to do at home. And so I actually got to paint my room. I got nice furniture, and like I really made it into something that I can spend more time in rather than get away from. So that's been nice.
That's good. I think in my case, it's been like what has changed or improved is not necessarily taking care of my home, but taking care of myself, like my body. But I think I owe that more to being unemployed than the pandemic. But I am unemployed because of the pandemic, so I guess I can like blame both.
Or thank both.
Yeah, I was looking for a better word. Thank both for it, because before I had no time to like take care of myself. What I would do is get up really early in the morning to work out. But even that was stressful, like to a way. Yes, I'm working out, but I'm also like so rushed to get back to the office that it didn't feel like me time. It just felt like I gotta work out, and then rush to the office.
It felt like a chore rather than something
yeah. So
about self-care.
So like my level of self-care now is like it's never been like this before. It's so good. Like I can take time for myself. When I go work out, it's like with no limits of like when I have to be back. like going on my runs and stuff like that. Yesterday I was out for like 3 hours, even though it was like working towards my run. But that's the point. Like I was
it 3
able,
hours? It didn't even feel like 3 hours.
maybe 2.
Maybe 2.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was long anyway. Like it was supposed to be 25 minutes.
Yeah.
And ended up being way more.
And then we also just played SpongeBob yesterday.
Oh, that game.
We got so serious about it.
Guys, if you haven't played the SpongeBob game, Krusty Cookout,
Yeah, Krusty Cookout.
on your phone, download it.
Yeah, also add us so that we can get extra lives.
That's true.
Did you see my request? I was like, I need extra lives.
Show me later.
I had to repeat that last level 30, so many times, and I was like, oh my gosh, I need to wait 30 minutes to play this game, and it only gave me 1 life. So I was like, oh man, if I don't get this right, I gotta wait again. So I was like, I'm just gonna.
They get really difficult.
They got so difficult.
I'm in a level that is literally impossible. Like it's just impossible. I've been trying. I think I've tried that level 50 times at least at this point, and I still don't. Because I think I need money to like buy the new stuff that I need to pass the level.
Mm-hmm.
But like getting that amount of money requires me failing like 100 times.
See, and then if you don't have unlimited lives, then good luck. So
yeah, it's crazy, but it's good quarantine entertainment.
Yeah, we're in our I'm turning 25 this month, so I'm still playing SpongeBob, and that was fun. Yeah, it's actually nice to be able to embrace like our inner childhood and like greet it welcomingly, rather than like, oh, I have to suppress being fun, like my fun self at the moment, and I have to go do these things. And I feel like sometimes as adults, it's like, it's good to like look in the mirror and it's like, yeah, today I'm gonna act like a 5-year-old because I want to and I can.
Mm-hmm. Also, I was talking to my brother yesterday like about quarantine and how difficult it's been for so many people. Like I think it's been a little bit more difficult for him, like emotionally and stuff. So he was telling me like, this is already such a stressful situation, like losing your job, not being able to go out. Like we're all so limited right now that it stresses you out, and it almost like makes you tired of like not doing anything. So if you can like release that stress with anything at home, then you should. Like I was telling him like, I've been on this strict diet and I'm like so over it by now. And he told me like, I was dieting before quarantine, but like as soon as quarantine started, I can't like be suffering the consequences of quarantine and also be like suffering from like this strict diet. Like he basically kind of chilled out about things more, because that's like the least he can do to survive this weird time, you know? It's like he's indulging in guilty pleasures because what else would he be doing in quarantine, sort of a thing. He's like, I'm playing Fortnite and I don't feel bad about it because like it's releasing the stress that I've been feeling all these months locked inside. So it's actually it's being something helpful for me right now instead of something unproductive.
Yeah,
like it's actually
feels so good though.
It does feel productive right now because it's helping him like not think too much about the situation.
Yeah, I remember during the beginning of pandemic, I was playing Fortnite too on my iPad, and I was like, yes, I got number 1, and then I finally felt accomplished, and I was like, I stopped playing. I was like, I won the battle royale, and it's like, okay, on to more productive things. Yeah. Kind of like yesterday, we played SpongeBob, had fun, and today we're like, oh, I feel so productive. Yeah. Let's actually do some work.
Yeah. We actually started filming this episode yesterday, and like halfway through, we were like, I was like, I can't do this. Let's just relax today because it's necessary sometimes.
And now we're filming 2 episodes in 1 day, so balance. Okay, so then I guess the next thing is, with all the like protests going on, or do you think like with now, at least in New York, let's talk about just New York in its current state, like the numbers right now aren't spiking, even with all the protests, but then some states are showing some spikes, so it's like, did quarantine, I guess, achieve its purpose?
I think New York had a huge wave, right? That's when
the worst one.
Yeah, so all the cases were crazy numbers. The deaths also had crazy numbers. And like we went through that super high that no other state really had.
Mm-hmm.
So now with the Black Lives Matter movement and people going outside to the street, I feel like most New Yorkers already got it. So if you go out and you're like protesting and you're surrounded by people, you're probably safe because most people have developed antibodies, especially young people, which are the people outside mainly. So I think that's why we're not seeing a spike in New York necessarily, because we already went through that. Like we went through hell already, and this is like, yes, we'll probably get new cases because not 100% people got infected, but there'll be a few new cases, but it won't be like a crazy spike again for New York, I think, because we already went through it and most of us got it. Yeah. We both got antibodies, and like the more you ask like your close ones, you realize that most of us had it already.
Exactly.
However, other states were more careful or preventative. Careful, which is like one of my how can I say this? I think differently about quarantine than most people, so I'm gonna say careful in quotations. But my point is like because other states have been more careful, now with the protests, you will see that they will get super high numbers because
no one was exposed before.
Yeah, like how long were you expecting to be hiding in your house for? You were gonna have to go outside at some point, and now that people are, because they feel the need to protest, they're all like suffering the consequences of their safety quarantine.
And I think also what people fail to understand when we talk about New York specifically is that, well, Seinfeld even had an episode about it, that like New Yorkers live on top of one another, okay? It's dense here. Someone can breathe on your face in the subway and it's not gonna matter. Like, what is 6 feet? A New York 6 feet is like 2 feet.
This is as far from you as I'm gonna get.
Yeah, and that's it, because you have no choice. And it's nice that now with the new normal and, you know, things, they're starting to expand streets, which is a thing they started doing anyway. Like summer streets in New York City is a thing. Like they'll start to open up sidewalks and even just close off streets entirely so that restaurants can spread out further, and hopefully that'll work. And because also some states are finally starting to dine in. I'm so excited to eat out.
I'm so excited for Miami. Let's do it if it's possible.
And so I guess it's just that. I guess quarantine did achieve its purpose, but it's just where it's frustrating is that it's not like there wasn't one uniform solution in the beginning, and so each state approached it differently, and now we're just one big giant experiment of like who did it best.
I don't think quarantine achieves its purpose though, at least not in the States.
I don't think so either.
I don't think it did because I don't know what we did differently, but for some reason our quarantine, instead of a quarantine, it's more like a delay. Like you'll be at home, but then when you go out in a month, you're gonna get it. So it's just like a delayed coronavirus, and that's why other states are now experiencing the spikes. Like I don't know what New Zealand did differently from us, you know, but their quarantine worked. Ours just didn't work. It was just not effective. Like people are still gonna get it. People are still getting it to this day.
Well, I mean, I guess to be more technical about it, is the pure purpose. I mean, everyone is gonna get that. All of those were correct. The only thing I guess that they were trying to focus on is that the numbers for the hospital rates wouldn't go up, because then once that got overwhelmed, then people would actually die because there aren't enough equipment. But hopefully now, a couple months into it, I mean, we're also coming from a pretty privileged standpoint because New York does produce PPEs in state, and you know we get first dibs on like a lot of these resources, whereas like some states or even countries don't have access to PPEs, and that's why it's very important to quarantine and stay indoors, because they cannot handle.
But even with our privilege, it still was not effective here.
Exactly.
Our numbers were still crazy
because
high.
Nobody was prepared. But now maybe if there's a second wave, we have enough PPEs for that second wave.
Yeah.
And that hospitals now have emergency plans for COVID, whereas during the beginning of this, we knew nothing. There were no emergency plans set in place, and even if there were emergency plans, this was something that no one was really prepared for. And I think now the key word is prepared.
Yeah. But then I'm just wondering, what did all these other countries that did it successfully have that we didn't? And like, how were they prepared if this is the first time thing for everyone?
Because America does not have universal health care systems. And a lot of people, so for the first time, are only going to the doctors now because when you don't have health insurance, you're not going to want to, your first instinct is not going to want to be to go to the doctor and have it cost you a lot of money.
Now, I wonder, is the US going to change their health system? Probably not. Even if we went through this pandemic and so many people died, I don't see any movement there. I don't see any conversations being had about changing healthcare plans.
There are some. I mean, well, with the presidential election coming up, we're only really down to two main candidates, which is Biden and Trump. So at this point, what we can do is educate ourselves and make sure that the people we're voting for and putting in place of power are people who care about universal healthcare systems and diversity, and especially putting women in place. You know, like, just look at the options of who you're going to be voting for. Most of our audience are within the age range of voting, 18 and onwards. So yeah, and if you're younger even, and you know that you're getting this information, you can influence your family and educate them when they're not seeking a good, well-rounded picture of what we can do for change.
Either we want to accept it or not, this virus was kind of like a survival of the fittest.
Yeah.
As a society, it's like whoever is in better health conditions is gonna survive, period.
And we just realize how disproportionate it is, and that it can be super unfair across all countries, stages of life, and that everyone can get it because even rich people got the virus.
Fucking Tom Hanks.
Yeah, it doesn't choose anybody. So at this point, it's really every man for himself, and then when there's another one, you gotta come together as one.
Yeah, so like we can prepare both, like you said, making sure that the leaders or the people in power are in favor of a better healthcare system. And also individually, we can also prevent it by taking better care of our health moving forward.
Exactly.
So our immunities are a little better. I almost feel like this was a way for the universe to like swipe away the weaker people. In like, I don't know how to even say it. It almost feels like a
survival of the fittest.
Yeah, but like a show.
And richest.
You know,
like Hunger Games.
Yeah, like Hunger
pandemic
Games.
edition.
Exactly. Exactly. This was like a live Hunger Games or like a Blue Mirror episode.
And we really Blue Mirror.
I mean Black Mirror. Black Mirror episode.
Yeah, no, this was a wake-up call, to say the least. Yeah, and if anything, like, we really have to also learn how to protect our own. Like, we're all human at the end of the day, and we end up in the same place on the ground. And so, like, what is weaker? We gotta lift each other up, and you know.
Yeah, if you have a loved one who you know cannot get the care they need, or they just can't take care of themselves, then you know now that you should be looking out for those people even more. Yeah. It's been a wake-up call in many ways. Yes. But you know what? At the end of the day, or at the end of the pandemic, I'm so happy that everything like, when it comes to my personal life. Like, I know many people died, and that's horrible. But when it comes to our personal lives, I feel like this was the shift we both needed. Yes. And I know it's been the same way for so many people. I'm such a different person now. Remember when I was like, had no life?
Even though you were so busy. You say that you had no life, but you were literally, because you're just at work.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. That's not life.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I mean. Like,
and that your job was basically also what you did on the side, like your passion. So it's like editing. It's my job and it's my hobby, and so that's it. This was good.
Such a
Corona.
Excuse me. I was gonna say, I'm in a such different headspace now. and I like it way better than the previous one. I feel like doors are open. Like, I am open to anything life brings at me right now. And that's cool.
That's the new mindset.
And I feel like it's necessary. I feel like something's coming, you know, and I don't even know what it is.
And you're just
New
open
beginnings.
to it.
Yeah, new beginnings. Same for you.
Same for me. Oh my
new
gosh,
place,
so many things.
New guy, new hobbies with the paints I left in your place.
Yeah, new company.
Job maybe. Yeah, new company. New focus in your career.
Yeah, exactly. Just new me, who this?
Yeah. So guys,
new normal, who this?
New normal, who this? So let us know if you have a similar experience where like coronavirus kind of changed your whole freaking life, because this is definitely the case for us. I almost feel, everyone. You know what? I almost feel like my friend group changed. I've definitely I've been getting closer to you all year, but I definitely gotten so much closer after quarantine to you, more than other friends really that were like closer to me before than you. Like right now you're just the closest friend.
Well, yeah, we also have this podcast, so it forces us to meet up.
But like it's been like 3 months where like you're the only friend I can hang out with.
Effort, people.
You know? So even like I feel like my circle of people that I consider close to me changed. So really almost every aspect of life.
Everything. Yeah, we definitely got closer. Because I moved from Manhattan into Brooklyn, now I have like a wider circle of friends too, like Jessie, Natty, Jennery, and all of them. And
like the people you live now are like really cool friends.
I got really lucky with my roommates too, so everything worked out.
So let us know how Corona's changed your life. Also, if you had a bad experience or a good experience, we just want to hear everything. And don't forget to watch my mini doc. We'll leave the link below where I explain my whole moving during pandemic situation.
All right, so that's our episode for today, and we will see you next
Wednesday
week.